Well, good morning. Well, hello, children. Nice to speak to you at the school today. I've got here a special rubber band powered plane. And this kind, you have to wind it up for a long time. And then hopefully it takes off. Now, this one has a propeller at the front. And planes are very, very amazing. They're beautiful. I like to look at planes outside. Now, this plane is a kind of light aircraft, a bit like the kind of Cessna plane you might see flying around, where people sit at the controls and they learn how to fly. Now, when you learn how to fly, and I have an uncle who was studying flying not so long ago, and he said one of the tests that you have to do, yes, you can fly, you have to take off and you have to land. And he said one of the things you have to learn is how to take off and land in fog, or if suddenly there's so much rain you can't see out properly. So I said, well, how do you do that? And he said, oh, they give you something to wear and it goes across your face like this, so you can't look out of the windows at all. All you can see below you is your flight deck. You can just see the instruments that are inside the flight deck. And it's called instrument-only flying. So if you really want to be a proper pilot, you can't just keep looking out the window. You've got to be able to take off and land in the deepest fog, in the darkest night, in the heaviest rain, in the most difficult conditions. And so they give you this special visor to wear over your eyes, and all you can see then are the instruments. Here's a picture of an instrument panel, and you can see instruments like your false horizon and your speed and those sort of things. And you have to look at those and follow them and not look out the window. Now that requires a lot of trust. You've got to really be sure that you can trust all of those instruments, that you don't have to look out the window. Now for me, I would find that really hard. I'd be saying, what's outside? What's it look like? How high am I? But good pilots just look at those instruments. Now, I'll show you something else. And I tried to make this last year out of a kind of a squeezy bottle and adding little bits to it like this. And this is meant to be, and you have to use your imagination for this, this is meant to be a submarine. Now, submarines don't fly in the sky, they go underwater. And the water can be up here, the sea can be here, and a submarine goes really, really deep under the water. Now, I have a friend who used to be in a submarine. He used to be a sailor in a submarine, and it was a nuclear submarine. And I said to him, oh, it must have been lovely looking out the window, seeing the little fish swimming by, and seeing how lovely the ocean looked. He said, no, there are no windows in a nuclear submarine, and no one is allowed to look out. You can't look out. I said, oh no, so you're under there for about a month at a time? He said, yes. I said, well, at least when you're underwater there, you know which ocean you're in, like if you're in the Atlantic Ocean, or if you're in the Pacific Ocean. He said, no, they don't tell us where we are. Only about 3 people on that submarine are allowed to know where you are. No one else has a clue where they are. They just know they're somewhere underwater. Now you imagine having to trust the people in charge, your captain and the others, who know where you are, where you're going, how deep you are, why you're going there. You're not told anything. You just have to make sure that everything is working properly and that the submarine just keeps going. Again, just like with the plane, you have to learn trust. With the plane, you have to trust your instruments. With the submarine, you have to learn to trust your captain and those who are in charge of you. And that's not easy. I hope in school that you know to trust your teacher. And I hope that when you have something really, really bothering you, that you can tell your teacher because you trust them. But there's one that I believe we should all trust, and that is God. We should put our trust in him. And when Jesus came to this earth, he was really sad when he saw people who didn't trust God, who felt worried about this and that, and they weren't trusting God. And he felt really dismay and really sad about that. Because you see, in the Bible, in the book of Proverbs, and chapter 3 and verse 5, it's in the Old Testament, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not, don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him." In other words, look to him, and he will direct your paths. In other words, we're not trusting in ourselves, in our wisdom, in our cleverness, but we trust in God to see us through this life and to see us on into the next life after this one. We trust in God to look after us and to watch over us. And Jesus taught that we need to trust God just like the birds in the sky trust God. They trust that they're going to be fed. They don't know where they're going to be fed from. They don't know who's going to give them any food, but they trust that they'll have enough to live on. We need to learn to trust God just as the pilot trusts his instruments, just as people in a nuclear submarine have to trust those in charge of them to know the way, to know where they are. So I hope today, and whatever's worrying you about tomorrow, about the future, you might be worried about your family, you might be worried about school, you might be worried about different things, but I hope that you and I can learn to just trust God and to let his peace fill our hearts. Because the Bible says that God can give us a peace that goes way beyond all understanding. We can't work out why we should feel at peace, but God can give us that peace and help us to stay feeling that peace in him. So let's learn to trust that God knows the way. He is the one we should look to. And any problems we have, we can talk to him and ask him to show us the way and to guide us and to lead us through life. Not only when you're at school, but when eventually you leave school altogether, later in life, when it may be you have children of your own, it may be you have a family of your own and lots of responsibilities, still we have to trust in God and just look to him. And I hope you will learn that lesson today, to really trust in God with all your heart and not to lean on your own understanding. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.